How are we doing, folks? So this is chapter 6 guided program walkthrough. Where we're going to be introducing loops. For this chapter, I'm going to do something a little bit different than I have in the past couple chapters. I'm going to break this into two separate videos. So the first video is just going to be the user interface, and then the second video is going to be the coding. These programs, as we're getting into the second half of the book, are getting a little more complicated. There's a lot of code. I didn't want the video to be too long. The last couple of videos were an hour or close to an hour. So we'll break this up into two videos. Some of you may need the GUI design videos more or less than the coding ones. So we'll break it up into two. I still suggest you watch both of them, but this will kind of just break it up and make it a little easier to go through. So we're going to get started. I'm just going to go out to my flash drive, my Visual Basic folder, and I'm going to make a Chapter 6 folder. And I'll start Visual Studio. Visual Studio is a little slow today. Really slow today. There we go. We're going to create a new project. Change my location. Basic Chapter 6. And then we are going to call this project the Fitness Challenge. Okay, I've got a Windows format. Going to Chapter 6, solution name is fine, and I will hit OK. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is rename our form. Call it Form Fitness. There we go, and it renamed down our properties window. I'm going to change our text property of our form to Fitness Challenge. Okay. And it wants me to change the size of the form object to 883 by 477. So just a little bigger than what it is now. All right, the next thing we're going to do is add a menu to this form. Now, we haven't dealt with menus before. So what we're going to do is scroll down to our menus and toolbars section and just click the menu strip and drop it on the form. So, and you'll see it adds this little menu strip section down below the form, and we also see the menu at the top of the form under the title bar. And then it's given a default name of menu strip 1, which we want to change to menu fitness. Naming conventions for menus are MNU, and it's a fitness app, so we just call it fitness. We're going to have one. We're only going to have one menu on this form, so menu fitness is fine. All right. So the first thing we want to do is make our file menu. So we click on the form and we're going to type file. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a shortcut or a hot link key. And we're going to put an ampersand before the F. And I'll show you what that does in a second. So file. So that's our main menu. And then below here, we're going to put a clear and an exit. So we're going to do ampersand CLEAR for clear. Oops, clear. And then, so you'll notice that the file has an underscore under the F. That's because I put the ampersand behind in front of it. And when I get done typing clear, you'll see an underscore under the C for clear. Then we're going to have another submenu for exit. And for exit, we want the hot link to be the X. So we're going to say E ampersand XIT, and that will put the exit, the underscore under the exit. So what that will do for us is we can just hit, they call it, what do they call it in here? Hot menus or shortcut menus. So you hit the Alt key and the menu pops up when you run the application. And I'll show you that when we test this out. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a label to give our application title. So I'm going to throw a table on here. I mean, a label on here, not a table. And so I'm going to call the label title. LBL, capital T, T. Forget our naming conventions. Most of you are doing a really good job with naming conventions, but sometimes some of us are still forgetting, so we'll always give you a reminder on that. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but if you drop down on here, you can type multiple lines here. So this is going to be fitness challenge team weight loss. And this will allow us to do multiple lines. This is kind of a big label. You just hit enter, team weight. Label. And it wants us to change this to Tahoma and 26. Let's go to our font. And Tahoma 26. That's big. I want to change the text align property to middle center. Kind of center it. Just this one in the middle. That centers it for us. And we want to change the location They have a specific font, a specific place where they want it. The location should be 50533. Well, that's interesting. It moved it off the screen, so we'll just move it over just a little bit. Or just place it wherever you think works best for you. I'm not looking at the final GUI of this application. I'm not a big fan of the design of this GUI, so you can kind of tweak it, make it how you want. They have a green button, which is just awful here, but I'm going to go with it because that's what the book's asking for, but I would probably never create a green button in an application. All right, so let's put our button on. And our button, we're going to give it a name of button weight loss. Clicking this button again is, oops, what did I just do? I changed the wrong property. So the name should be button weight loss. And the text property should be enter weight loss. There we go. So let's resize this button, make it a little bigger. It wants us to change the text of the button to 14-point bold Tahoma. Oh boy. So we're going to really make this one stand out. Tahoma, bold, 14-point. Like I said, you don't have to do this exactly, the GUI exactly as they have it here. I don't think this is the best GUI in the world, but I'm not a GUI designer. The back color property to yellow-green. There is yellow-green. There it is. Wow, that's an ugly color. Yikes. All right. So now, I'm just going to move this up a little bit. The next thing we're going to be adding is our Listbox object. And the list box is going to be used to capture. So in this application, it's a team weight loss. So you have a team of 8 people, and you're going to be entering 8 weight loss values. So you're going to capture those 8 values in this list box, and they're going to be entered using an input box. I'll explain that when we get to the code, and that'll be done in a loop. So we could do this application with 8 text boxes and then do math to add all those up, but it makes a lot more sense when you're capturing multiple values to use a loop. That's what loops are really for. The GUI they're showing me, they have a much smaller, much narrower list box. So I'll resize that. I think it's going to tell me the exact size later. So we're going to rename this list box to LST weight loss. And we're going with our 14-point bold Homa again for our font. What you have to be careful of when you're putting a big font in the list box is what are the values you're going to be entering. You're going to want to make sure that list box is wide enough to capture all those values. And list boxes will automatically scroll if you have more than 8 values in there. I'm not sure how many this is going to accept, but when you get more values and will fit, it'll scroll. But I'm going to make this one um, make it a little smaller because I think we're going to have a label before to do our we're going to have a label after it to do our calculation. All right. So this says the size property of this list box is, where's my size? 50 by 188. That looks really narrow, but we'll go with it. I'm going to make it a little wider. We want to change the right to left property to yes. That's just the alignment in there. And we can select all of these. So they're all centered. So I just did align centers and I just lined them all up in the center. Makes it look a little better. All right, the last thing we need to do for the GUI is add a label down at the bottom. So put our label in here. And our label name is LBL average loss. And then we're going to change our text value to average weight loss is X, X, oops, X, X, pounds OBS. So this is just a placeholder in here. And they're gonna have us make this really big again. We're going with our Tahoma again. So I go up to my font. So this is Tahoma, bold, and 18 points. So this is a really big label. Looks like we're going to have to, oh, LOAS. I guess I didn't spell. That's right. There we go. Just drop that label in there. And now that we have this in here, we're going to align centers again. Oops. Tools, format, align, centers, not rights. Okay, so this puts it all aligned on the center there for us. We can move it around if we want. I think it wanted to make the back color of this to yellow green again. Ugh, that's just bad. Green, yellow. And then we have yellow, green. Which is worse? They're both pretty bad. All right. So we've got our ugly snot green labels, which is very nice. The next thing we're going to do is add a background image. I hate background images in applications, but that's okay. All right, so let's go to click on our form here. We're going to click on background image. And we're going to do a project resource. And we are going to browse to our health image. So I have that out on, I think it's on my desktop. Basic 2000 resources, chapter 6, health. Okay. And now we have our application with a background. I guess it's not as bad as I thought it would be. The next thing we want to do is, since we want to change the visible property of this label to false until we actually click the button, so that this is going to be initially invisible. And we want to make the enter weight loss button the accept button. So we'll click on our form. And we'll go to our accept button property. And we'll select our label. And if you remember what that is, that's just when you hit enter, puts the default in there. All right. So I am going to save this. Remember, we click save all. And that's all for our GUI. I'll just give you a quick run of this. It doesn't have any code in here yet, but just show you what it does with the menu and everything. All right. So we've got our application, we've got our button. If we click file here, we have our clear and exit. And we'll be putting some code behind these just like we would buttons. And that is pretty much it for the GUI. The second video that I create is going to be, we'll get in here, we'll do the actual coding. Good day, guys.